One commenter asked, questioning is based on the video. Do you still love her? Rashid, why did you remove the video?
I removed the video because after looking at it and speaking with people that I love, primarily my mother and my close friends, and after examining it and hearing their point of view and their perspective, because it was about me, right? But it impacted so many people in my life, and it could have a negative impact on them. I didn't take it down because I wanted to run or hide from any of the things that I said. My accountability standpoint was all factual, and I stand by everything that I said. But at the same time, I didn't think about how it could negatively impact my son, who could see it down the road, or my mother, who would negatively impact, or my other loved ones. So, that's why I decided to do this Q&A, because I'm not running from any of the transparency stuff, but some of that stuff, my emotions was high and my logic was low. So that's why I took it down. But here today to answer, the questions and the things that I said that I stand by.
Some people were critical of you taking a public approach. Do you now believe that the public nature of your relationship warranted a public response to the breakup?
Now, no. Then, absolutely. One thing that I've been navigating through since this time, when you go on a social media platform after being on a reality show that was extremely successful, and I was one of the most highlighted men on that season, and you realize people fell in love or disliked you, however you want to look at it, with who you are, the reality of who Rashid is and was. And I realized I'm not an actor, I'm not playing a role, I'm not an athlete, so all you saw from me was the real reality. So sometimes you get tricked into, now, okay, I have to share everything that is my reality with people that I don't even know. And that's one of the things that I think or I can say I fell victim to, feeling the obligation now to show you all the intricacies of my life and show you the good, bad, and just bring you along. And what that does is that I've learned, it gives tons of people opinions that typically or normally wouldn't have one or don't even deserve one. But I gave it to you, so I can't be mad at anyone from having certain opinions. So that's, to answer your question, I think that was a huge detriment for my life when I was with someone, and also negatively impact my mental health.
So you said that this was the real you, and you're not an actor, but some people will say that you are.
Mm-hmm.
What would your response to that be?
Well, and that's part of the things that I've been learning. I can't please everybody. I have to be my authentic self and just be okay with that, with the fallout, with the results. Because people are gonna, lean in one way or another. They're gonna think I'm full of crap, or think people are gonna, resonate with some of the things that I'm saying. And that was kind of the process that I was going through. Like, listen, like, everything that you saw from me, from Ready to Love, is me. Like, I wasn't putting on a show. Am I extra at times? Absolutely. But, that was the video about showing the sides that we do hide, the insecurities that we all have. And everything is not peaches and cream. And one of the things that I said in the video, I feel an obligation to show you the bad. Because I've shown you the good. I've stunted and showed you the first class flights, the Bentleys, the car, all this kind of stuff, the good stuff. But then I want to act like I'm above or I got it all figured out when I'm going through it just as much as the next person, or maybe even worse. And I was tired of portraying the perfect life, because that becomes stressful, and that's when you start doing things that you normally wouldn't do just to maintain this outward public perception. And I was tired of doing that.
So Rashid, would you say that the Ready to Love platform, the show, is not a platform for people to be vulnerable and authentic?
No, I wouldn't say that, because on the show, I was very authentic and vulnerable about where I was and the mistakes that I made in my previous marriage and the things that I was looking for and what the importance of being a great father was to me and trying to genuinely get to know someone. So I think I don't want to blame the show, because we're all grown-ups and we're individuals. So I wouldn't say that. I just think you have to maintain your certain level of character and integrity at all times, regardless of who's watching. And that's the thing that sometimes you can kind of lose your way. And I will admit that, along the path, I kind of lost my way a little bit.
Some people said you made the video in order to beat her to the punch, so to speak. Were you nervous about her version of events getting out first?
No, not at all. Not at all. Because you have to understand, when I did that video, the wedding was called off and we broke up. But the breakup was in a posture of, we're going to work it out to try to reconcile. So I didn't do that to try to get out in front of any narrative that she would paint, because I didn't believe that she would do so, because we were still in the posture of, let's try to figure this out. You go back to your house, I'll stay here, we go to counseling, I'll work on what I need to work on, and then we'll see if we can reconvene and then move forward. Because when I had the conversation, was like, listen, this is going on and I don't want to continue this, because I don't want to go into this marriage the wrong way. And that was primarily financially. So when I did that video, I was calling myself out. I was calling myself to the carpet to be accountable, and I couldn't hide behind the smile anymore. So really, and when I said in that video, I wasn't doing that for anyone else but myself, because now I can't hide behind the cap in the BS, right? And also part of that, I knew when this all came out, she would have some level of embarrassment. So quite honestly, trying to be her protector, I thought in my mind that I was jumping out in front of her and putting her behind me and taking all the bullets. Because I'm like, I'll be the man, I'll take all the heat. Let me take all of the bad press and the embarrassment, and let me fall on the sword and to protect you. And that was my posture. That was my thinking. Like, let me call myself out, call myself to the carpet. There's things that I can correct and work on as a man, because wholeheartedly I have the right mindset as far as wanting to be a great husband to her, a great father, you name it. So with those things, I also felt a responsibility to hide her from any negative comments, because I felt people were going to be coming at her like, Cece, you had this and you thought you had all this. So it was twofold, to call myself out, and I thought that I would be protecting her so she wouldn't have to answer 2 questions, because if I pull it all out there, then all of the heat will come towards me.
We're 8 months removed from when you posted the video, which gleaned nearly 200,000 views and nearly 3,000 comments.
Yeah.
As we sit here today, even though you removed the video, would you take back anything you said?
Would I take back anything that I said? Yes. Yes. I would take back when I said I ain't shit. I definitely take that back. And I take back the fact that I called myself a narcissist, because I truly don't believe in my heart and soul that I am. But I was just in an extremely vulnerable position at that time. And I take those things back, but I don't overall, regret the video, because it's helped me so much in my healing and going forward. And it's helped so many other men and women who reached out to me that had shared similar situations, either from themselves, or other loved ones, their family members, their sons, their daughters, or their spouses. So I think it was needed, more so for me to be on a more righteous path of healing and accepting all of me, of who I am, and being okay with who I was. Because, we have those days, but on most days, I'm extremely excited to be Rashid. But on those, some nights and days, it's like, man, you feel like you're less than. So those are the things I would take back, but at the same time, it was needed.
Did you read the comments?
Sure. I read quite a few, not all 3,000, but it took me a while to read them, and then it just a whole other range of emotions, because obviously there was a lot of backlash, a lot of negativity, and I understood that. I understood when I pressed send, or when I pressed publish, and I said I was okay with stepping out in front and taking all the bullets and having to own up to, my part and what I did, and then now doing this in a public setting. So yeah, I read them, and compartmentalize some of those things, and work through a lot of the things in counseling, because one of the things that I talked about is me growing up as a child, always wanting people to like me, wanting to be a people pleaser, and that was one of my downfalls, or things I would love to work on, is being more of an effort mentality. It is what it is. Either you're gonna love me or you're gonna hate me, and it's taken time to adopt that, and that was a part of me throwing it out there, because I knew people were gonna say a bunch of negative things, and I'm like, yo, it's out here now. What you gonna do? You gonna go crawl in the corner, or you gotta pick yourself up? You still got a son to take care of. You still got responsibilities, and you just got to move forward and understand what you've done and own it, and not care so much.
On the show, they ran background checks and credit checks. How were you able to mask the gravity of your financial situation?
Well, on the show they did background checks. They didn't do credit checks. That was a episode that me and my ex did on this platform. When you go on the show, they do just a background check to make sure you ain't crazy, criminal, doing anything immoral, if anything like that. And then you take an aptitude of some kind of test. So, that was just a normal type of background and testing that, is kind of par for the course.
Do you think giving the truth of your upbringing and educational challenges as a preface to speaking about the breakup was a sort of crutch or justification to divert accountability?
No, not at all. Because if people watch my journey, I talked about my educational challenges on the show. So that was a precursor to all of this, any of this stuff that happened. I talked about it. And that's what I'm saying. Like when I was on the show, I was being transparent. I wasn't, you know, playing any type of role. So that was something that I always dealt with in challenges. So no, that wasn't a crutch. That was, again, me just kind of giving an insight to me playing self-psychology, evaluating myself, and that was always the thing of me trying to prove people wrong, me trying to be at a certain level of stature and status, so people would never look at me negatively and don't think that I can do certain things or I was intelligent enough to do them. So that was kind of my motivating factor, and for me that's been a gift and a curse, because that has allowed me to be successful in certain aspects of my life, but it's also made me push the envelope and go too far and try too hard without thinking of how it could impact others and how it could impact me long term, because I was searching for that validation through success and through others. So if I portrayed this perfect, I've got it all figured out, then people wouldn't be able to see the insecurities I have with some of the things from my childhood.
Was the breakup and what ensued after that a rock bottom moment?
Ha! Hell yeah. Yes, it was. And here's why. And then I'll talk about the public aspect of all this. The worst thing, rock bottom, was my divorce. To be honest with you, that was the worst. If I really, because I was married to this woman for 10 years. Thought that was my soulmate. We'd be married forever. I didn't want a divorce. We had a child, and the fact that that was over, the embarrassment from that, and the negative impact that had on my psyche, that was difficult. And what made this more difficult is because it happened in public. It was a public setting. And I have nobody to blame but me for that. So I can't point the finger at the commenters and people who don't know me, because I've given them fodder and footage for them to have an opinion on, for them to feel like they know who I am, like to know the real me, to know the real things that were happening, when you only get a blip of what's actually really going on. So when you do that, it makes it hard, because as I mentioned, we were in a posture of reconciliation. But it's hard to do that when you got this person calling me this and calling her this and that and the third. Like, if it happened in private, we could have probably worked through some things in private. It ultimately maybe could have never worked. And ultimately now, where I've been and see everything that's going on in the landscape of where I'm at now, it probably wouldn't have. It would have been something else. But again, I'm guilty of a lot of that. If I never would have put the video out, there could have been an easier transition for us to work things out, or not, and just kind of, part ways. So.
You apologized to your ex-wife in the video. Did she reach out after seeing or hearing about it? And has your relationship with her changed at all?
My ex-wife, I did. We've always been kind of here. We don't have a bad relationship by any means. I've seen some people go through a lot of stuff with their exes. We communicate very well. We're great co-parents. She did reach out. And she had empathy. She felt, she was upset to see me in that way. And obviously we still have love for each other. We're married for 10 years and we have a child. It's a different type of love, but if anything, though, I would say it probably strengthened our relationship.
How did you articulate the breakup to your son?
Man, I've made a point to my child to always be honest with him and not lie or hide things. And what I mean by that, I'm going to tell him truths, but I'm going to leave out adult details. He's 10. I did the same thing when I had to tell him about his mother and I's divorce. So, I'll never forget it. We were in the backyard. We had lit the fire pit, the fire pit that him and I made, and we're making s'mores. And I just sat out there and talked to him. I just told him, "Hey, man, I just wanted, At this point, she had been gone from the house for a number of weeks at this time, and it was kind of like, he didn't really ask because it wasn't that he didn't really ask, and I didn't say anything, because if he would have asked, then I would have had to have said something. So it was just kind of like, okay, eventually he's gonna say something, so let me go ahead and beat him to the punch, because and it was a time that he wasn't over there. So if it had been every day, then he would have said something. But anyway, I told him that, unfortunately I have some bad news. And I told him, fortunately she's no longer going to be your stepmother. And he was very excited about having her as his stepmother. They had a fantastic and wonderful relationship. I could never take that from her. She was phenomenal with him. He did really love her, and she really loved him. And he didn't take it very well, to be honest with you. And I was there to console him, and I told him, hey, you know what? Sometimes in relationships, you have two different people that come together, and sometimes they have different outlooks and aspects of life, and they don't always work. And then I did tell him, Daddy made some mistakes that I have to own up to and that I have to correct. And that I'm working on. And, when you get older and be able to understand some of those things that Daddy did, I'll be happy to talk to you about those things so you don't repeat the same habits. But understand that it takes two people to make a relationship work, and two people for it to dissolve. And I didn't go into anything regarding her. I just, talked about me and what, on the surface of what I did, and we're not going to be moving forward with the marriage.
You discuss materialism at length in the video. Have you since made adjustments to your lifestyle?
Absolutely. I've done a lot of things to humble myself and cut back. I've been in a posture of staying out the way, keeping my head down, not focusing on what other people are doing. I don't post stuff like that, material stuff anymore. I'm strictly just talking about my business and promoting things that I've got going on, stuff of that nature. And it's been refreshing, to be honest with you. It's been less pressure. So now the pressure is no longer to maintain this outward appearance. The pressure is the pressure I should be under anyway. The pressure is to still be the leader of my household, to take care of my child, and to get back to a stable and solid financial foundation, and paying back my debtors, and working on to be the lender and not the borrower. So anything that I would typically take and spend on materialistic things, I'm doing to pay down things and move stuff off my plate. And I've really cut down a lot. So, I'm happy with where I'm at, and still got quite a ways to go, but it's been rewarding, put it that way.
Have friends and acquaintances treated you differently since your confessions?
I would say my friends, no. because my friends are my friends. They know who I am. They know what I am and what I'm not. They know, that I'm a good person. I'm a good-hearted guy. I love people. I just want to do right by people, and I want to do great things in this life and in this world. And they've always known I've always been a risk taker. But acquaintances I would know because they're acquaintances. So we're not that deep anyway. So I don't know. I don't really necessarily feel it, but I don't know you that intimately, and you don't know me that intimately for me to even kind of really feel it. But more so to that question, I'm self-conscious at times on how people are feeling about me when I'm in a room around people that aren't my true day ones. So, and maybe I'm the one that's acting different, to answer your question.
Currently, what do you see as the biggest challenges to your self-improvement?
The biggest challenges to my self-improvement. The biggest challenges to my self-improvement is not trying to rush the process. Because, okay, you're like, okay, I want to get back to life. I want to get back to the things I was used to when I wasn't in this financial split, when I had it and I wasn't in debt and I wasn't robbing Peter to pay Paul and I had all these, and I want to get, this is like, 6 months, 8 months, I want it now. And then you're trying to microwave the process. And through prayer and through counseling and just seeing, and it's been good for me to talk to other people and see where other people were, or where they're at and where they're going. And just to talk to other people and to understand that some people in this life look up to even where I'm at now, even to have some of the first world problems I had. Some people would give their right arm to be in this position, which is crazy to me because when I'm in my mind's like, sometimes you think you're the only person. Like, I'm on this island, nobody's going through this. And then you talk to others and you go to counseling and I sit in my house and I'm like, what? Like, you still have these things. You just have to correct this. And you're on the right path. Just slow down. What's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's the biggest thing that I've been working on is my patience. It's funny, my pastor just talked about that last week, is about patience. And that's the biggest challenge for me right now.
Are you currently dating? And if so, what led you to the decision to do that based on your own admission that you are still working on improving yourself? Go ahead. Absolutely.
I've started dating. And another thing that, I understand and acknowledge, if we waited to work on to where this whole person start dating, we'll never date because we'll never be whole. That's a part of life. We'll never have it all figured out, and we'll never be completely healed from whether childhood traumas, past relationships, and things and everything in between. So when I date, it's a complete acknowledgement of where I'm at, who I am, and tell them exactly that. And then they have the decision up front to deal with me or not, to pursue, a relationship, a friendship, what have you. So it took me a while for that because still I was like, okay, did she see the video? Is she thinking this? Or what she think? Did she see what others have been saying? Did you see what this person said? Did you see this, that, and the third? Like, but then I also had to think, okay, if you've seen it, if they heard this, they're still here. They said yes. So, there's something that they see there. And ultimately, I understand and know that I am a good man. I just flawed, and I have to acknowledge those flaws and work on it. And I'm still never going to be perfect, but that's the posture I've been taking when I'm dating, and just being really open and honest and deciding, letting them decide, if they want to pursue something.
Do you see yourself dating someone who wants children or more children if they have them already?
Sure, I'm open to that. I have no problem with that. Not at all. Either way, as you get older, obviously, we all had our lists and stuff like that. Oh, I don't want someone with children. I don't have to deal with baby daddies or ex-husbands and all that kind of stuff. But heck, I've got a child, and if I'm not trying to be no sugar daddy or trying to date 21-year-olds and stuff like that. I don't have the patience, the time, or energy for that. So yeah, I'm open either way.
Have you spoken to your ex at all since the breakup, and have you apologized to her?
We had spoken a couple times early on after the breakup. We had some couple phone conversations, and there were some emails, text messages passed along, and we talked. I did apologize to her and her family personally, to her mother, father, sister, close friends and confidants. And I apologized to her publicly as well on my platform, privately. So, yeah, I did that. And then, I did some, grand gestures in public and things of that nature. So, yeah.
Do you still love her?
Yeah, I do. It's a different type of love now. It's not a love that I love her. I want to be back together. I have a love for her. I love her. She's a good person. She's a phenomenal woman. We had our issues like most people. Are there negatives that I can say? Absolutely. But you'll never hear them from me. Because if I feel like I was at a point to marry this person and spend the rest of my life with this person, there had to be some good there, right? So obviously, and then the love, obviously when you go through a breakup, sometimes you just look at the highlight reel, all the good times. Oh yeah, we're da-da-da-da. But you gotta love people through the pleasure and the pain. So that's where I'm at. I've always been a lover, a sucker for love. That's how I used to get teased all the time.
I heard someone say recently, standing in your truth does not make you noble. Since the breakup, have you sought therapy and or financial counseling?
Wow, standing in your truth does not make you noble. Okay. I would like to know what makes you noble. Just a side question. I talk about therapy all the time. I was in therapy years and years ago. I have a great therapist now. I've got some great people around me. I've got a clinical therapist. I've got my pastor, Pastor Jay at a higher dimension. A solid, phenomenal brother that just checked in on me in the dark days, gave me words, scripture, and just as brother. And then Latarius Whitfield is another. He's almost like a pastor from Dear Future Wifey. That brother, man, is so dynamic. He would call me when I was on edge, when I was ready to lash out, when I was ready to turn the camera on. They counsel me through a lot. So I've had some spiritual counseling. I've had clinical counseling. And as far as financial counseling, I actually brought a gentleman on the podcast, Mr. Mark Haywood, who's a financial advisor for Northwestern Mutual. And we had a series entitled Financial Recovery, and he would talk about those things. And I was the guinea pig. So one of the things I talked about in my video and the subsequent follow-up video was like, listen, where do we go now? I talked about these things. people reached out and they went through similar things. So now I want to move to a teaching aspect, because that's always been me. I've always been a coach. I've always been a leader in that aspect, and I always try to instruct. So why not show you my scars, and hopefully you don't do what I've done or repeat them, or if you have, let's work together and get out of those things. So I have been working with a financial advisor to help me going forward with my finances. Absolutely.
So as of recent, there's been some pretty salacious allegations made by your ex, i.e., you're a scammer, you cannot have children, you took money from the wedding account to pay child support, and so forth. And even likening your relationship to a viral relationship that's now turned into a TikTok moment and even a movie. What do you have to say in defense of those allegations?
Yeah, I knew we would get to this point at some point. First of all, it's very sad and disheartening to hear those things. Again, this was someone that I plan to spend the rest of my life with, you know, that I plan to love through any trials and tribulations that we go, for better or for worse. And to hear those things, especially when they're not true, is very, very sad and disheartening. I've had some really, really dark and tough moments. You know, many times I had to go, just leave work and go cry in the car. I would see something or someone would send me something, and I've been trying to stay away from my mental health and my focus to, my healing process to move on. But what I'll say is, I've had a lot of thoughts when I've seen a lot of this stuff of coming on here and bringing out all these receipts and rah, and doing this and that and then, doing the interviews. I've been asked to do multiple interviews, and, and I just said if I ever talked about it, it'd be on this platform so I can keep it a buck with y'all. I've never scammed anybody a day in my life. There's been nothing. I'm not a scammer by any means.
You've sustained a lot of arrows being slung your way, but you have yet to sling any arrows back, so to speak. Why?
Again, I'm all about accountability. I put that video out. I maybe made her feel that she has to now save face and ultimately protect herself. And for me, thinking that I was doing that for her, that was a mistake on my part. So again, I have to eat it. I have to live with the fallout, even though I know my character and integrity have been questioned, and many people believe the things that have been said. But all I can do now is, I got one person in this world that thinks I can go up there and bring the moon down and put it in his hands, and that's my son. And he loves me ultimately with no judgment, no conditions, not anything that I provide him or anything that I can give him. And that's what wakes me up in the morning. That's what keeps me from saying anything negative about a woman that I really loved and was really ready to marry. And I know they say it's a thin line between love and hate, and I see it now. I get it, man. But I just couldn't do it. I just can't do it. So I have to, I remember Latarius sent me a scripture. Hold on, let me read this. Because, man, I had moments I'd be crying on the phone with Latarius and just telling him, man, how I'm feeling. This is being said. This is not me. I didn't do this. And he shared some transparency in his life before and how he sat still. And after he sat still, after he came out of the valley, Dear Future Wifey podcast was born. Yeah. So the verse he sent me that was really comforting to me that he had to live by is Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only be still. And, you know, that's talked me off the ledge a couple times, just going back and seeing that. I got it saved in my phone. And again, we're all his children. You know, she's his child as well. He wants what's best for her. And then ultimately, I wish her nothing but the best. I hope she gets everything that she wants, deserves, and is looking for. And, you know, I've moved on, and hopefully she has as well. And that was another reason I didn't want to prolong anything in the public eye of us going back and forth in the tit for tat, because I would never want to be in a position to disrespect any female, especially a woman that, you know, I called my fiance. So I'm a big boy, you know, and I'll have to take everything that has come my way, true and untrue.
Presently, are you more hurt or angry about the latest comments that disparage your character?
Hurt. I don't even need to say anything else. I'm hurt. Devastated. Oh, devastated. It, you know, and my epitaph is not that. It's written in pencil, not pen. That's not the definition of me. And it's very, very, very hurtful because we shared something real. But I go back to, I know she was hurt, and people do things when they're hurt differently than others. But you can't tell me I can't be hurt. Like it's like, it's, you know, it's tough. And that's why I'm in counseling, and you know, I have very dark moments where, you know, weeks will go by, I'm feeling great, feeling good, and then something will pop up or something will happen, and it just kind of 10 steps back. So that's one of the reasons I've been dating, but not dating with a lot of serious intention, because I want to be intentional mentally and physically, and in the right space and financially with the next lady I pursue long term. We're about a year out, and you know, you hear those things, it takes you into a mental space of, you know, you feel like an awful person, and you feel unworthy of love and unworthy of a good woman in your life. But then you're like, wait a minute, I ain't do that. Like, I ain't, like, that ain't, so it's a roller coaster. It truly is.
Lastly, are you back outside? No.
That's hilarious. I was told when men say back outside, that means me being a hoe. And I'm not a hoe.
I'm just kidding. We're clear.